Yes. So someone's phone is going. Okay. Very warm welcome to everyone here, and a very happy Grandparents' Day to all the grandparents who are present here, and a very joyous session of storytelling to all the youngsters who are here on the session. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Minaz. I am an architect and urban designer by training. I'm also a professor and a researcher and writer by passion, and a dreamer and an incurable optimist by nature. I dream of a beautiful tomorrow, and some of those dreams translate into books. So today I'm here to talk about a little picture story book, which is about a grandparent and a grandchild. So I will just share my screen. Yes. So today on this occasion of celebration of Grandparents' Day, I would like to highlight on this whole idea of storytelling. So stories have been around with us from time immemorial. And the printing press and storybooks came about only a few 6 odd centuries back. The printing press started, and after that, after many centuries, storybooks and things came into the picture. But we have heard of stories from times much, much, much before that. We have heard stories of gods and goddesses. We've heard stories of kings and warriors. We've heard stories of travelers and voyagers. And we've heard stories of very ordinary people who have done extraordinary things to, somewhere change the world. So how did these, stories come to us? So these stories have been coming to us through this art of oral storytelling. When we did not have storybooks, we had so many ways of storytelling. India is a land of storytellers. You have things like, the Kathakali, dancers. You have the Katputlis, which are the puppets. Then you have the Kavadi storytellers, and you have the ball singers who sing the stories to us. And there are so many ways in which stories of, past times, stories of imagination have been coming to us. But there has been one other very important channel of transferring stories from generation to generation. And that channel has been our family members and the elders and the grandparents in the family. Like I see grandparents and the elders in the family as, walking, talking libraries. They have such a huge experience in their life. They have so much wisdom that they carry with them, and so much love and joy with which they share whatever they have seen and heard and read and traveled to with people and children around them. So today we are here to celebrate these custodians of storytelling, and I would like to do that by reading out a story which is a story of a small child and his grandfather, and it is set in the lockdown. So before coming to this story, I would like to take a few minutes to talk about how this storybook came about. And like I said, I am an architect and an urban designer and a professor. So how did this children's storybook finally come about? So this storybook has been published by People Place Project, which is an initiative which is trying to bring about consciousness about our city, our surroundings, our neighborhoods, and our natural environments into children and adults. So they have a whole host of books and picture storybooks and maps of various cities, including Mumbai. Um, Events, various places, and various people that our cities are made up of. So this book in particular, Pani Party, started with a collaboration with Living Waters Museum. Stories of water, diverse geography and such a diverse history, so much culture, called the Mumbai water narrative. water and health. So this has all come together as a virtual exhibition called Confluence. And while we were working on Confluence, one of the most important things that we thought about was how do we get all this information to reach out to young children, because they are the water keepers of our future. Once they start seeing the value in water, once they start seeing the magic in water, we know that the water of our future is safe. And that's how we came up with this book. It was a small story which I had written. It was illustrated by a very uh, uh, proficient illustrator, Priyanka Lele. And it's there, available for children and adults. It's a book for all ages actually, and it's a very joyful kind of a happy book. So I think without much ado, I will start with the reading of the book. So like I said before, this story is set in the 2020 lockdown. If you all remember, we were all shut in our homes, and the most affected were the small children and the elderly, because their entire routine, their interaction with others was completely hampered by the lockdown, and they were getting bored at home. So you have this little boy here, Aryan, who is at home during the lockdown. He is extremely bored. So let us see what happens with him. He is sitting at the window and he's looking at the street outside, longing to go out, but it's a hot summer afternoon. There's no breeze, nothing. In the distance, far away, he can see some clouds, but nothing exciting is happening. So in steps the second character of the story, who is the grandfather, or as Aryan calls him, Ajoba. So now let's see what Ajoba has to say. "What's the matter, Aru?" Ajoba called out in his slightly wheezy voice, watching the little boy framed against the afternoon sun. "Bored," replied Aryan, without bothering to turn, his hands still holding tightly at the window grills, as though wanting to bend them and set himself free. Ajoba smiled and walked slowly towards Aryan, taking a seat next to him at the windowsill. "Come here," he said lovingly. "Let's do something to send this boredom scurrying away." Aryan reluctantly sat down cross-legged on the stone seat, feeling its cool touch under his skin. He still looked morose. "It's been so long I have played with my friends. I am fed up of sitting at home, playing with the same toys, reading the same books. Even watching TV feels boring now," he said, a small frown gathering on his face. Yesterday was Karan's birthday. It's the third birthday party I have missed because of this lockdown. Why can't we meet at least for a birthday party, Ajoba?" Ajoba smiled some more. "Oh, so it's a party that you want. Come, let's have a party right now," he said, finally making Aryan. "Now?" asked Aryan. "But how? We don't have any friends here. Also, no pizza, no chips, no cake, no balloons." So as you can see from the picture, Aryan is very, very clear about how a party happens. And he's very disappointed that the party cannot happen. So let's see what Ajoba says. Ajoba did not reply. Holding on to his aching knee, he propped himself up from the low seat and shuffled out of the room as excitedly as his feet would carry him. He returned with two steel tumblers in his hand, laid them down on the windowsill, and settled down beside them. So he came back with glasses of water like this. Two glasses, one for himself and one for Aryan. Curious, Aryan peeped into the glass expectantly. He frowned, picked up the glass, and took a sip. "Ajoba, This is only water. He scowled in disappointment, setting the glass down and turned back to stare outside the window. Ajoba was excited though. It's magical, isn't it? There's you and me, and this is our Pani party. Pani party? Aryan frowned, still confused at what Ajoba was trying to tell him. Okay, tell me something, Aru. Can you imagine something that you can drink and eat and also use for cooking and washing? And what if I say that you can also swim in, ski in, and sail on that same thing? Imagine an element in which all kinds of life exist: corals, seaweed, fish of all shapes and sizes, crabs, turtles, octopuses. Aryan slowly turned to meet his grandpa's happy eyes. Imagine something that can form drops, waves, snowflakes, ice cubes, something that can flow, evaporate, and then come down and fall back from the sky as rain, continued Ajoba. Imagine something that can turn a desert into a paradise. Imagine, doesn't it sound magical? Yes, but, whispered Aryan, fascinated by Ajoba's words, but still puzzled by the idea. Here, take this, said Ajoba, handing him the glass of water. Look at it. It's sparkling and clean. Take a sip. It's cool and refreshing. Aryan couldn't resist taking a nice long gulp. So let's take a break here and take a sip of the water that we have with us. As the cool water quenched his thirst, he felt his anger melt away. He smiled. But it is still not a party, Ajoba. We have water every day. Yes, we do, said Ajoba. And that's exactly the reason to celebrate. He picked up his glass and said, take a look at this water again. It's magical. Imagine if we got onto a space shuttle and took a tour of our solar system. The only place where we will find water on is Earth, our home, the only blue planet in the solar system. For a moment, Aryan's eyes shone as he pictured Ajoba and himself on the space shuttle, staring at the pale blue Earth from afar. So, life on Earth exists because of this magical liquid, said Aryan, with a sense of finality, his face now composed and pensive. We are made up of this magic, replied Ajoba. Over 60% of our body is composed of water. Without water, we will perish. But we often take this magic for granted. So sometimes it's nice to sit down and celebrate this magic, isn't it? And you know, many people around the world don't have access to clean water. These include those who live around us in our own city. Aryan's smile faded. Can we do anything to change that, Ajoba? Ajoba smiled and gently ruffled his hair. Yes, we can. We can start by being grateful for what we have, by acknowledging how blessed we are, he said. We are often so busy rushing from one thing to another that we forget to look at the miracles that exist around us and within us. Once we focus on these miracles, we will learn to value every drop of water on the planet and not waste it. Aryan picked up the steel tumbler yet again. It felt cool under his fingers. He gazed at its moving surface as it trembled slightly in his hands, the pattern of reflections shifting and glistening. He slowly put the glass to his lips and took a long sip. As he felt the cool liquid slide down his throat, he closed his eyes and lingered in that moment a bit longer. He then opened his eyes, looked up at his grandpa, and smiled. Outside the window, it quietly began to rain. Thank you so much. Now we can all take a nice sip of water, be grateful for the water we have, because as we know, a significant part of the population of Mumbai does not have access to clean drinking water. So let us all value water as a resource and celebrate every drop that we receive. Let us all discover the magic that is there in every drop of water. I dedicate this book to every grandparent and every grandchild who would bond together over the joy of storytelling, and to especially to the grandparents for passing wisdom across generations, which includes wisdom of everyday things like water, which we often take for granted. Thank you very much for joining in for this Pani Party. This book is available on Amazon.in and in some bookstores as well across Bombay. So this book is a social initiative. We are trying to reach out to as many children as possible so that they understand the value of water, and please spread the word about this. We also hope to share the proceeds that we get through the sales of this book with the initiatives that are trying to provide access to clean drinking water to the marginalized communities in Bombay. Thank you very much for being present here. I hope you enjoyed the little Pani Party that we had.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Minaz. Anybody has any questions? Anybody has anything to say to Minaz?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can also impart the knowledge about conservation of water in the children, this knowledge, because
Yes.
it is very essential in today's time. Besides this, we can also tell them that what is the way to drink water.
Yes.
That is, should not drink standing.
Yes.
And they should sip the water slowly sitting.
Yes, very true.
Standing, if you drink the water, it is harmful. But if you sit and drink it sip by sip, then it is good for digestion as well as for your body. And besides this, the water, we must understand the importance of water for the body, that if they keep drinking water, the body remains hydrated and your immunity is boosted.
Yes. So this is the kind of water wisdom, which is there in our senior generation. And it's very important that this gets imparted from generation to generation. So that's the whole, reason why we are celebrating this whole idea of having small conversations.
I have got one more idea.
Yes, ma'am.
That when you take a glass of water, and it is scientifically proved also that if you say some spiritual thing in the water, the molecules of the water, they respond to it and it becomes very healthy for your body. For example, you can chant Om while drinking the water molecules will change. This has been proved by the science also.
Yes, it is very true. They say na, jaisa pani वैसी वाणी.
Yeah. And वैसा ही श्वास.
Yes. Thank you so much for these insights.
I think
you.
Zahid has to say, wants to say something. Yes, Zahid.
Your book. Yes, Zed.
Hi, Zed.
I wait. I have the same book as you, but I love reading it every night.
Thank you so much.
I love your stories.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to see you, and I'm so happy to hear this. We can't hear you, baby. You need to unmute. Dhyara.
I think she can't unmute.
Dhyara, I hope you're enjoying the book, and I hope you. Yes, there she is. Thank you so much for coming here, Dara.
Bye.
Minaz, do you want to tell people about what you're also doing in urban conservatism? I remember you talking about your project, and that was very interesting.
So I mean, that was my thesis project for my urban design program, which dealt with the culture and the cultural heritage and arts of Bandra. So I have done some extensive mapping of Bandra and tried to understand, the whole cultural aspects of Bandra. Bandra has a very strong connection to music. It has a very strong connection to cinema and, other arts like culinary arts, the local things that are there in the communities that have lived here. It's heritage architecture. Bandra still has around, I think, 8-10 villages which still exist. And they retain a lot of, their cultural heritage. So that was a part of my study. That is also translating into another book for MMRDA, which will be out soon.
Thanks. Anybody has any questions, or we can call it a day? Any other questions for Minaz?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Where we get this book?
This is available on Amazon.in.
Okay, but how they people got just now only you told no that this is available. How that baby and that son got the?
No, this book was released in the middle of June. So it has been available in some bookshops and it has been available on Amazon for quite some time now.
Okay.
In fact, now we are looking at also doing translations into other
only
languages.
One story is there. Pani
Yes,
Pati.
yes.
More stories are there.
No, this is one story from end to end.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Minaz. It's been really lovely. Everybody will be putting this video onto our channel by the end of the day. And in recognition of Pani Party, I think it's a nice rainy day in Bombay. So I think all of us can enjoy. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me here.
See you guys tomorrow.